bored of this champion throughout the entire demonic phase, and the nerfs to the demonic build, everyone just goes full tank now. So we still get first pick Maokai here, has so much power when you get to setting up objectives. Sapling vision and zoning is still there, but really this big team fight control as well, locked in for EG really early. And they throw down the Caitlyn, even on 13-5 with the nerfs. Now, this champion has definitely dropped down quite a lot. Not as easy to bully people with early, but Stixxay, no hesitation here for Golden Guardians. They lock in the Caitlyn, so you have to think something like a Lux will be paired with that, and EG response will be immediate here.
Golden Guardians already displaying some of that flexibility with an unexpected pick. They were forced to dive a bit deeper into their pool because they're longer series previously.
Some of my favorite counters into Caitlyn lanes are double poke lanes and going with stuff with Ezreal, but they insta-lock the Jinx and the Tristana. Holy moly. We got the Jojo Tristana again. He was the first mid laners in the LCS to pull it out, and they're going back to the Jinx. I do think Jinx is very powerful right now, even though Jinx has gotten a bad reputation in North America because of a lot of the losses racked up in specifically that 100 Thieves series where Doublelift was targeted so heavily, and Golden Guardians were quite good at diving backline and killing AD carries. So we'll see if they can replicate it here.
And FBI, though, on the other side, looking to turn the tide on how people think of Jinx and perhaps have some strong performances for EG if the rest of the team can keep him safe. But interesting with that and the Tristana being locked in here early. And for Golden Guardians, as they continue through their bans here, Annie, very prominent because of that continued flexibility offered, but Blitzcrank forever coming more and more into drafts to get that lockdown into that backline pick.
Yeah, don't want to have any sort of kill threat supports in the bottom lane here. A little bit worried about hook into trap combinations. It looks like we may not actually even get a Lux ban from EG though, which is the tried and true combination with Caitlyn. But since Golden Guardians did not draft it in the first three, seems like they are fine and they're saying, hey, we've got backup plans anyways. Hi, Ovalie.
Hey.
Hi, Nick. Rub his head for good luck. Rub his head for good luck. He loves that.
Oh gosh, you're setting up the trend. Now every time we see Golden Guardians coming on stream, they're gonna have to be rubbing his head before sitting down in their chairs.
Shiny Anero is the best Anero.
Nice and fresh and clean on the co-stream today, and hoping that his players play the same in-game as well, as we have finished the ban phase here. But this is one of those drafts where we got a little bit of that switch up in what was locked in earlier with not going towards that support.
Yeah, and now I'm really curious, because the Lux question as soon as Caitlyn shows up is always floating around. It's about what Golden Guardians want to pair with it here. You can just go like Karma and you be a double poke lane yourself as well. So like that support the Caitlyn, but the crux of it is you want to be aggressive. You want to be another very, very aggressive support. Heimerdinger does fill that role. And actually, now that Heimerdinger, even with the nerfs to the health of the turrets, with Caitlyn, you can have really, really strong combinations. Looks like the hover on the Ashe, another champion that was nerfed for support role here, but Hawkshot is one of the best tools to give to Inspired. He's so good with extra jungle information at being able to create a big difference. So they lock it in. Triple AD carry, triple marksman composition technically here from Evil Geniuses with the Maokai front line.
I know that we were hoping to get a little crazy in the draft of this series, but I feel like we are getting some of the dynamicism that we were hoping for.
Yeah, I'm just blocking another sort of tank here on the front side for Evil Geniuses. You just need, when you've got triple AD carries, need a little bit of extra protection here. Ksante is no surprise. This is the most popular top laner on the patch for actually several patches now. Very, very powerful, being able to build full tank and still have kill threat towards the back line. But really, question is, Golden Guardians saving their counter pick for Licorice, and he throws down the Fiora into it. Ooh. So they will have spread map pressure here. Can Golden Guardians get some split pushing going? Caitlyn Heimerdinger lane on bottom side to try and get some aggressive push going. Taliyah moving from mid lane, and then a little bit of support into a Fiora early on to get her scaling goes a long way.
All right, with that considered, the split pushing attempts from this draft from Golden Guardians, all the poke available on the EG side. Where are you leaning towards? How do you think these match up against one another?
Well, I think that Evil Geniuses have a really, really good setup here with the Jinx Tristana for late game carries and a beefy front line. So if they can keep structure in this game,
Okay, Kobe. What are we looking at coming into this?
Well, whenever you've got a Heimerdinger, usually there's a fight over Heimerdinger turrets early on in the bottom side, since pushing is so important for both these lanes. So looks like we got a good old-fashioned level 1 10-person party.
A little bit of zoning off, both sides very aware of the other's presence here in bot lane. Huhi getting quite chunked down. Ssumday putting himself in front, goes for the flash, gets the flash out of Stixxay. EG want to grant that as enough of a reward for pushing forward, so they go into the cove, but FBI is in dangerous territory, bringing the sweeper out to get that last look onto the AD carry of EG, but they do retreat without giving over a kill.
The big victory is had by EG, though. They get the flash cleanse off the Caitlyn. And when you've got this ever important war of pushing on the double range matchups bottom lane, no summoner spells for Caitlyn. With the nerfs on the patch as well, looks like EG with a nice little surprise attack level 1 at the very beginning. No kills, but pretty good summoner spell trade.
And an expectation from both sides to get scrappy immediately off the bat. Let's see what Golden Guardians coach expects here today.
Thanks, Gabby. I'm here with Golden Guardians coach Spooks. Very interesting draft. I see 3 marksmen on the side of EG. Can you walk me through a little bit about what happened?
I think Tristana Maokai is like very prominent, particularly in NA. I think both comps are a little wonky, honestly. We're lacking a bit of frontline. They're just like full AD, essentially. So it's going to be very volatile early. I'm glad we won the level 1. We have no sums on Caitlyn. It's a bit rough, but I think if the game's stable, we have a good shot late game. Yeah.
Okay, so what needs to happen, say, in the first 10 minutes of this game for you to feel good about the start?
Yeah. So everything's going to be based around bottom. As long as we keep it stable, our bot lane stays healthy, I think it'll be fine. That should just be our main goal. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, Golden Guardians coach
Cheers.
Spooks. Let's send it back to the casters.
Pressure on the bot lane to keep things stable and healthy even after losing both summoners on Stixxay.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Golden Guardians, yeah, the double summoner spell blown early is going to make that task a little bit more difficult. Hawkshot as well finding River as he's crossing over, so EG...
Oh, Jojo in some trouble, does flash towards tower as River shows his presence.
Nice little job here by River. Hawkshot saw him, so he's like, you know what, fine. I will divert my path. Instead of just crossing straight from red quadrant over to blue quadrant, he passes through mid on his way down. So it'll be a little bit delayed in clearing camps, but honestly, very, very efficient. And that's a case of something I always love putting a magnifying glass on, is using the information that you know your opponents have against them. Since they just saw you on Wukong rotating over this way, he changes his path, gets a flash out of mid lane from Jojo.
Which is so important in this matchup when, Kobe, you were just saying in draft that Inspired has such a good way of capitalizing upon any vision intel he is given. So now, stepping up to River a tad, River has to hold that same expectation to make the most when vision is granted on either side, as both are now currently on the bot side.
Yep, and should be able to find him here. Not going to be any sort of big loss for River. He should be able to clear back up towards the other side. And so Inspire just leaves an extra low ward here for the bottom lane, so the bottom lane can keep pushing. Thank you, Observers. Definitely a very good one, protecting all avenues that Wukong could do, since River is very sneaky as a jungler. Something he was known for a lot on Jarvan was going for these unexpected gank paths and see if he can get around all of this extra coverage. Looks like he's going to go for the recall. Krugs are respawning right now. Don't want to be too efficient.
And River has executed that strategy on multiple picks as well, while J4 definitely the most notable. The last time that Evil Geniuses and Golden Guardians faced off against one another in Week 5 and River was on the Sejuani, the way they were able to execute on that win was often coming from a unique angle, throwing out the ultimate to start things off and allowing the rest of the team to proceed. As a leading voice alongside Gori, you gotta look out for Gori too to be able to hold strong in that mid lane. Inspired making the play, knocking him towards Jojo. Last hit, not able to commit for the kill. One tower shot puts Jojo low enough to back off.
Yeah, Gori flashes him under tower. I thought he was going to push him even further under tower with the W, but did not.
Ssumday flashing away. River here in response. First blood drawn by Golden Guardian.
Huge! That's what champ select. We're talking about a little bit of help to a Fiora early on can go a very, very long way. River able to get in there. Flashes, they get the kill onto Ssumday, whose flash is burned yet again. See if Licorice can have a really big game for himself, because he was a huge part winning player of the series in their series, over 100 Thieves to even get to this position.
After being one of the pieces many took such a microscope towards during the regular season, stepping up and making that pivot in the draft to be a strong aspect for this team. But one thing when looking at the alternative side with this bot lane, many have noted how even these two can feel. So how that plays out in a lane where it's so much about applying that pressure and really winning out in this matchup becomes that much closer for something to watch.
And River gonna wrap around again. Remember, he blew Jojo's flash early on, goes down, clears out the ward. Just trying to keep the River here clean so they can continue to threaten towards that mid lane.
All right, and all the while, considering that Licorice had previously been granted that kill, we do have to be worried about how he's going to build.
Ssumday does not like getting ganked. He went and bought a control ward and left it on River's red and warded his Raptors. Ssumday says, this is not going to happen again, River. You're not going to catch me sleeping. Has a lot of vision coverage up on the top side. Try and keep track of this Wukong.
Very much paying respect to not just what River can do, but Licorice as well. Meanwhile, over on the bot side, the dragon has spawned, so both junglers keeping their eye in that regard. A control drop down, but taken down by River. So intel granted for both Golden Guardians and Evil Geniuses of where the junglers currently are.
Pretty big stuff here not to have flash on the Taliyah as well. So I think Golden Guardians trying to do a little bit of extra protection. Screen work here for Gori. Could get a little bit dicey there. Inspired finishing up his red, and should be able to make his way on over before any sort of action breaks out, though. Bottom side, pushing continues. I think it's a pretty decent win here for Evil Geniuses with how it has gone so far, even just being as close as it is. Trying to deny Caitlyn Heimerdinger from pushing in on towers at all, while being able to use the hawk shot. This one, not just checking for a lane gank from River. I kind of like that, but I feel like it gives away what you're trying to do here.
And you can tell that by the response of Stixxay and Huhi on the opposite side. Scuttle being taken by River currently. But yes, as you're saying before, Kobe, you do have to be worried about what this Caitlyn can do later. So trying to minimize any opportunity for Golden Guardians bot lane to get ahead, keeping the pressure up, farm at least even is one way for Evil Geniuses to keep control over that side of the map, despite a bit of warding being done for Golden Guardians across that River side.
Yeah, and on one item, on two items, I feel like the Jinx is going to be much more valuable than this Caitlyn without a big lead. Meanwhile, is going to be the support roam timers here. Huhi coming out, they find the control ward, get their vision on the Rift Herald, and Tristana's rotating bottom, so EG are sending Jojo. He has a leashed teleport ready for the Tristana. I love this play. You get to utilize Tristana's tower killing, turret plate taking abilities, while also being able to have the teleport close enough to Rift Herald, to your own safe tower here, to really threaten Golden Guardians. And either way, you're gonna be able to get something out of this lane swap as far as value goes. Gori does have the Taliyah ultimate ready, but Golden Guardians say, fine, do your Rift Herald, Evil Geniuses. We will just take the dragon. We've got Heimerdinger turrets, plenty of extra DPS here to make that pretty quick as well.
Neutral objectives traded across the map. Golden Guardians picking up this first dragon for themselves. And then all the while Inspired working to finish off the Rift Herald on the top side. And then Jojo gets a chance to just keep farming up, keep becoming that strength later on in the game. This also allows Evil Geniuses to offer more pressure onto Licorice, who it does seem like they're trying to make sure he doesn't get too out of hand. Bringing Ashe up here as well, throwing down the ult, see if they could get some capitalization.
Yeah, unless Licorice decided to dodge upwards there, that one's never hitting. So Vulcan does get a whiff on his first one, but we did also see the teleport from Jojo up to mid. That means they're going to give up a turret plate bottom to Gori in exchange for Jojo rotating with the rest of the squad towards the Rift Trail, towards top half of the map. You'll be able to pick up the big minion wave there and get the experience as well.
And across the board with gold as well, fairly even in most of these lanes with the exception of Licorice versus Ssumday off of that first kill to kind of kick things off, and not very bloody thus far.
Yep, no conflict so far, not really a reason for it to arise. Flash is coming right back up on carries as well, so looks like we are going to have a little bit more of a lull. I like this rotation back though. For EG, wait out for the next Ashe arrow cooldown before you try and burn another one. Looks like Jojo gets the push on mid and hovers, but not really going to make any extra move up there towards Licorice. With Ghost ready on the Fiora and having wave control, he's pretty safe.
What do you think of the impact of Tristana coming back in this mid lane position? Not just with Jojo, we've seen Vikla play as well, and
oh man!
There's the land and the stun up. Jojo's hopping in right now, trying to make use of that Tristana, using the buster shot into the rest of the team. And that one is clean. Finish off with a kill for Jojo. River risking to be next, but has the opportunity to escape. And EG really following up on the play.
Oh, Gori flashes and Vulcan nails him. He missed the one up top on Licorice, no biggie. Shrug that off. As soon as that Ashe arrow is up though, that cooldown we're talking about, he just nails Gori with the flash. Oh, that is a heartbreaker because Tristana annihilates turret plates, explosive shot on them, Rift Trail charging through, 4 turret plates. That is one rich Yordle. Jojo going to be able to take over this game. If you remember back to the first game of Tristana mid this year in the LCS, it was Jojo. And again, it was very low kill count, but very high turret destruction from him very early on. And they were able to snowball super effectively. Here's another look at it. It's from the Fog of War, but it's a straight line flash. That's why I start screaming. As soon as you see that, you know Gori's like, well, it's the worst of all worlds here. Not only am I dead, but I also lose my flash, and the Taliyah will be very vulnerable. The Tristana will be very rich. Now we get to see Jojo Unleashed. Is able to complete his Kraken Slayer 12.5 minutes with upgraded Berserker Greaves. So he gets to jump forward with Reckless Abandon.
Was about 1,000 gold up on Gori after that play, and it is showing in his build thus far with that mythic completion. EG nearly cresting to 1K soon enough in their gold lead. But the proactivity of them working out so far with another land here from Vulcan, and following up with Inspire throwing out the ult, and there are a couple roots onto multiple members, which means an immediately blast of Huhi. Golden Guardians down their support. The sacrifice they'll make for those ults used by EG.
This is looking really one-sided so far. It's Evil Geniuses throwing out these Ashe arrows, but the Ashe arrows are looking like nukes. Every time he fires one, ever since the top side play, just instant kill here. Ashe arrow into Maokai ultimate is such a strong guaranteed engage option for Evil Geniuses. Picking off another one here. Dragon, still plenty of time to spawn, so Golden Guardians, you know, revival here. Huhi's back up, but now there's no flash on Heimerdinger, no flash on the Taliyah either. Both of those will be very vulnerable to Mr. Sniper Vulcan.
Yeah, those snipes are kind of those mid-range hits from EG, and really clean follow-up there. Kobe, with that considered, though, you're saying it's looking a little one-sided. How worried should Golden Guardians be? Or is it just finding their opportunity to really get the lockdown onto one of these carries in these fights?
I'd say very worried at the moment. They're going to try and get some vision control for themselves here for Dragon setup. They do have Caitlyn and Heimerdinger. Both these champions benefit tremendously from getting to the objective first and be able to set up. You can get a trap line, plus you get your turrets down. So they will be able to start it up for themselves, but Evil Geniuses, look at those cooldowns. Ashe Arrow and Maokai Ultimate have just come off cooldown. They're going for it again.
Golden Guardians have to be scared of that. And there's Maokai ult right here. Gets a route onto River, but in the end, Golden Guardians were postured for Dragon. They take it, and EG don't contest too much.
Turret's gonna die though, and it's gonna get Jinx excited. So Golden Guardians, while they did get the objective, they give up the mid lane control to do so.
And another hit from Enchanted Crystal Arrow, followed up by the Jinx. Rocket, you got so many long-range ults to just chunk some damage from EG that you know is going to get more and more powerful in future team fights.
Yeah, and they lose out a little bit because there was a minion wave that pushed up to the mid tower. So EG, while it didn't look like they got, really anything there, they got a little bit of damage, but they did zone the rest of Golden Guardians from a slower rotation to pick up at least part of the minion wave towards mid tower, denying a little bit more gold and continually, incrementally increasing this gold lead. 2.1 thousand the gold lead for Evil Geniuses, but Golden Guardians, at least they do have these dragons now stacking for themselves.
And the dragon stacking over for Golden Guardians, but a lot of that gold that was afforded to EG, breaking down that tower that had previously had the Rift Herald on it as well, which is what gave Jojo some of that gold lead.
And losing your mid tower really early on can make it super difficult to fight the next setup. But look at the top side of the map too. Golden Guardians are taking this bottom turret, but EG are making a top side play towards Licorice with 4 people. Vulcan heads up, he clears out the vision, and they will just pick up the Rift Herald to continue taking down turrets. Jojo gets hit by the seismic.
Jojo in it, lands an E onto Gori, but can't charge it up, and the damage back is too strong. Buster Shot to get Gori off of his back.
All right, no follow-up there. The other side had just recalled. So it's just going to be clean Rift Herald pickup in exchange for bottom side push from Golden Guardians. Nice little bit of chunk from them. And they do have a lot of damage, as we mentioned. So once you start opening up the map here, we'll see if Licorice can get anything done in the side lanes. Already up to the Divine Sunder with his Ghost ready on the Fiora. Meanwhile, Evil Geniuses here doing a pretty good job consolidating. They just bring this front line over. They've got double Kraken AD carries ready to go in these team fights. As long as the Wukong doesn't get onto both AD carries at the same time, Jojo's spread out from FBI to have some dual threat positioning here, then it's going to be pretty hard for Golden Guardians to make a move forward in a team fight. And it's probably just going to be more about Golden Guardians trying to push out waves, trying to play the map, because EG, they're the ones with all the priority as far as the setup.
Because the ways that each of these teams are opening up the map is different. EG having that mid turret down, offering more movement for themselves across with more safety to set up the vision across the river. But Golden Guardians can take the fact that they did get that bot turret and are starting to offer that pressure on those side lanes.
Also should say the steel caps are at a tremendously high value for Golden Guardians. A little bit of armor will go a long way here. Steel caps reducing the autos from all of the AD carries, and since Inspired on Maokai is also going full tank Maokai, there's not even like demonic AP damage. So it is truly pure attack damage here from the side of Evil Geniuses and Golden Guardians. Even some of the more offensive characters that are not full tanks, just fitting some armor into their builds, especially early game, is definitely going to help.
And Licorice, though, might need a little bit of help on this top side with the presence of Evil Geniuses. Vulcan wanting to set up the play for Inspired, but Licorice started walking away so quickly to be able to create that space before the attempted dive.
Tickles. Not an Ashe arrow fired here by Vulcan because he knows it'll just get reposted. And another calm, collected play here from Evil Geniuses. Pretty similar to the first time around. And Jojo pushing mid here with Tristana explosive shot means they get the Herald's second charge off on top side while pushing mid wave and have plenty of time to reset for the dragon. So this one, 50 seconds in the future. You don't want to give up another one here to Golden Guardians, because even though it is just the soul point, 3 dragons before the soul arrives, that makes it very dangerous. Because then all it would require from Golden Guardians to actually complete soul would be a steal or something like that. And honestly, if you gave a Cloud Soul extra move speed to a team that wants to play the entire map here, has the Fiora, has the Wukong, both benefiting so much from extra move speed there, it would give them a little bit of pause at least. The AD carries trying to worry about some flanks. Licorice, though, under attack.
And this time walking right into the arrow. Not in line for Jinx, but in line for the slams from Ssumday and Jojo. Rocket jump forward, last auto to do it. Jojo with the kill.
All right. His last auto was enough damage, so technically the flash was an extra expenditure, but a super high value. Again, arrow from Vulcan finds a kill, and Ssumday teleports down. It's a double teleport back to the dragon. EG, they're going to get their pick, and they don't want to give it up. This wall is pretty early.
EG aren't in the vicinity just yet. Posturing as Golden Guardians wrap around through jungle to get the angle onto the dragon. They know they have the tools to get in there to try and attempt to steal if they want, but now are worried about the poke being thrown by Evil Geniuses. Vulcan marked low, but Ssumday zoning off river. They try to turn towards dragon and have to be wary of the teleport on the backside, getting the route onto river. Licorice wrapping around. Inspired, does he see him? Joins the jungler. The solo laner put in some work. Gori getting a kill. It's Golden Guardians throwing back on this fight. 3 of them taken away. Onto the dragon they go. Ssumday and Inspired can't do it.
And onto the Baron. That's all 3 AD carries in the dirt. You got Wukong spinning around on all of them. Evil Geniuses collapse. Not only do the Golden Guardians get their soul point, their 3rd dragon, they also should be able to get this Baron. 10 seconds left on Jojo, 9 on FBI, so neither of the high damage carries are here. It's just the tank frontline, low damage, no Ksante ultimate, no nothing here for EG. If they manage to do anything, it would be a miracle.
And that arrow was thrown out for mostly vision because of the timing before anyone can come through. Not enough from the rocket from FBI, so a secured Baron here by Golden Guardians.
Oh, this is so massive. They wipe out the Evil Geniuses gold lead that they had been able to accrue with all of the turrets they had been killing. And they get their dragon stacking to continue. Look at this arrow, though. Observers are given EG another thing to celebrate about after they feel bad for him, I think, after losing so much. Yeah, losing so much previously. Jojo, that flash actually, not having flash now for this fight, let's take a look at how all the AD carries got smashed here, because River had a good clone initially on the Q3 from Ssumday, and then they make the all-in. River flashes for it. He immediately kills Vulcan, kites to the other side. Stixxay flashes over the wall, and then FBI kind of walks into the Wukong, finished off with a bunch of extra rocket damage there from Huhi, and able to follow it up. So massive, massive stuff there for Golden Guardians, and now they're going to push for more.
Getting some work on this Red Bull Baron buff already. What an advantage they have swung towards their favor, evening out the gold for a moment before a slight build of Evil Geniuses, but that's top turret going down by Golden Guardians with Licorice on that push.
Now, with no summoner spells on Jinx or Ashe or Tristana, EG's comp is looking so fragile. Very, very scary stuff here. Golden Guardians will be able to assault on all sides. Looks like they call Gori over to 4-1 split push here, so Gori's gonna back up the mid push with these 4 members. Baron empowered cannon minion will slowly chip away at this one. Caitlyn extra range here is enough. And on the side lane, Licorice gets to keep up the pressure on Jojo.
All of these AD carries look a lot more shrimpy when you don't have a map to safely move through, and a lot of fear for the push that Golden Guardians can have. Now executing across this mid turret. Inspired wanted to slow it down, but Golden Guardians keep up the pressure, both in top with Licorice and the rest of the team here on mid.
See about that top lane, because honestly, Jojo's done a pretty good job clearing out even Baron empowered minions from the Fiora split push, so looks like Golden Guardians aren't going to make too much extra headway here with the Baron. Still sitting at almost the 2,000 gold Baron power play, so definitely decent for them, and taking down all outer towers here makes it much more difficult for EG to set up their team fights. They have to worry about so many more flank angles now because they have no outer tower defenses. River gets to sneak around through the jungle, clearing out vision, looking for possible plays for themselves, and Licorice here on the Fiora with the Ravenous completed. Now you're really feeling strong because you can annihilate those minion waves with the AoE, as well as having the Divine Sunder for your duels with your opponents. Golden Guardians play off this momentum now. They just have to keep up the pressure, keep pushing. Only a minute in advance here for the next dragon, so push out on that top side, get your control wards, respawn. Look at that, already in inventory. All 5 members, including the AD carry, buying 2 control wards. Golden Guardians, they're gonna get full vision around this dragon in preparation for Soul. And it's quite an early Soul at that.
And if anyone knows how to play off of that momentum, it is Golden Guardians. Multiple players talking through multiple pieces of content about keeping that mental strong, keeping that confidence, maintaining it when the pressure is up, and that's what allows you to make those plays around the Dragon, to feed it into the Baron, to bring this back to an even game after the earlier, really persistence of Evil Geniuses.
And EG, they're trying to make a duo push here up on top side. Inspire hovering Jojo. They're trying to do a little bit of a bait there, but Licorice isn't going to overextend quite yet. Inspired's still hovering around in Fog of War there. They're trying to use Jojo's aggressive style and his personality as a bit of bait there, hoping to bait someone in, and it's not going to actually take. They will be able to get the turret up on top side in advance of the Dragon spawning, but that should be it.
Inspired accompanying Jojo to do so. I do feel like you can see a lot of players' personalities in how they are in the game of League of Legends, but Jojo's definitely one at the top that really feels in tune with how he plays and how he really tackles the game from that competitive angle, and being a condition for Evil Geniuses right now to keep up that pressure on the turrets, because look what's happening for Golden Guardians, baby. They're just gonna finish off that Dragon over here.
So
Get that soul. And what did that Cloud soul do? Kobe, what were you talking about? What this soul could do for Golden Guardians?
so much damage here on this team, and the soul is going to give them the extra move speed here to be able to play the side lanes, be able to look for these flanks. Lots of extra mobility on Fiora, who's already incredibly hard to catch. So we'll see. It's difficult for EG, but they do have the guaranteed engage. I would say wait until you get your double Infinity Edge power spike here for Jojo and FBI. Then you can go for your Ashe era Maokai attempt at the big team fight and try and fight your way out of that with double marksman scaling. There is a possibility here still for sure, but I think Golden Guardians look primed for it because they don't have to overextend it or anything. They can move over towards Baron again, set up your Caitlyn traps and your Heimerdinger turrets first, and force EG to walk into you. As long as you don't corral yourselves inside the pit and give them a free Maokai ultimate, should be quite easy for you. Licorice going to push on the bottom side now, furthest away from Baron to draw that pressure away.
Yep, still has his teleport available to assist the rest of Golden Guardians should they decide to go for a play. Evil Geniuses, the ones that have to be careful how they get picked off by GG. But you were talking about how EG should be able to hit things like IE before they can really offer that threat, and just guess who just picked one up? Tristana, Jojo, reaching that Infinity Edge for that additional power.
Yep, now they just need the other one here on the Jinx, and they should be able to set something up for themselves. Meanwhile, though, it's getting more and more difficult. I love this buy from Licorice. Our Telestrator's not here, but you can see he's got the extra armor here. The Warden's Mail is so massive versus double AD carries. Steel Caps plus Warden's Mail on the Fiora. Even the Fiora is decently tanky against the triple AD carry comp. As long as he doesn't have to fight all of them, Licorice now is walking right up into Jojo, as you can see on the mini-map, while the rest of the team finishes off the Baron.
There's the arrow coming through, not hit by anyone. Golden Guardians with 2 roots from Inspire. The teleport coming in from EG as well. Taliyah wall gone to separate. River going in with a Cyclone Ssumday over the wall. A big blast of damage onto FBI, who's zoned out. Stun and lock. Vulcan's out of it. Huhi next to fall, and they're shut down onto Jojo. Golden Guardians turning onto the damage output of EG and taking it away. It's a triple kill for Stixxay. What are you gonna do when Golden Guardians take control of the play? EG running away at the work that GG's been putting forward.
And I think they should just retreat for the Baron here. They push up mid lane with 30 seconds left on Tristana, 24 seconds left on Inspired here. Also no teleport on the Tristana. Yeah, they are gonna pick that one up, no problem for themselves. Golden Guardians, really nice job. They have the split push on bottom side. All they have to do is block the rocket here. They finish up the Baron, but Licorice splitting on bottom side, while the rest of Golden Guardians with so much damage in this team comp, they melt through the Baron. Even though Inspired kind of heading over here, they get sectioned off. So look at the Taliyah wall. Look at how they are able to section off 2 parts of the EG comp. Inspired plus Jojo and Vulcan here, separated from the rest of the team. And then with Licorice just coming in for the flank, River goes in, Wukong ultimate, then they get to pull back here. And the only real threat behind them was Jojo, who gets immediately annihilated there. Headshot from Stixxay, while Licorice We mentioned how much armor he has on the Fiora. He's able to zone out the other threatening AD carry without any really big deal at all. Golden Guardians, yeah, EG are gonna have a very difficult time now climbing back into this one. Stixxay on his Caitlyn, one of his most famous champions. I always think back to, CLG, MSI days. It's nice to see him doing really well yet again, and Golden Guardians fighting their way here through playoffs.
It's one of the most intriguing things I feel about players like Stixxay that have been around for quite some time, have these picks that remind you of previous peaks in games and bringing it down to the present.
And there you see Jojo trying to get an objective bounty on the Tristana. He gets it. EG still fighting, still trying to use the Demolitionist as best they can with the split push. Does get the recall there from Licorice. But the onslaught in mid lane here, bottom lane already taken care of, and Golden Guardians, they easily get the Maokai ultimate out of EG without anybody being in any danger. And with the Baron buff still on, they can finish the push.
And now Jojo making that rotation to try to collapse with Evil Geniuses. Golden Guardians still pushing onto this turret and applying the pressure. Licorice has that teleport available to join them. They've got the Baron buff for another full minute to keep that up on the side lane.
Frozen Heart completed for Licorice. Ah, yes, the itemization takes over. We had the little interview with Spooks, the co-chair from Golden Guardians, talking about if we get to late game, no problem. And they have arrived.
They're here, baby, they're here. Golden Guardians, ever since that play from Dragon into the first Baron, have offered so much threat to EG. So if you're looking at EG, Kobe, are you thinking it's written in the books, or can they find some way to land all the damage from the triple AD carries onto this line? It's just so hard with how just strong and durable Licorice is becoming.
Yeah, well, you still have to try. And until you get also now armor penetration on both AD carries, then it's going to be pretty difficult. We saw just a last whisper coming in from Jojo, so still pretty far behind the curve here, EG. Golden Guardians looking for the kill blow.
Around EG, going in for it. River cycloning in the wall to have some separation. Going into stasis, Jojo keeps himself alive for a temporary amount of time. Stixxay popping off at it again. Licorice going into the back line to get the double kill here. It's a good play. It's an ace for Golden Guardians.
And it's the game for Golden Guardians. Game number 1 already. Golden Guardians, massive stuff here. They give Licorice the counter pick again. They're rolling off of that confidence over the 100 Thieves win.
Woo, Lord, Golden Guardians, a statement in game number 1.
Stixxay got both his summoner spells blown level 1, and he never died in this game. 6-0-2 on the Caitlyn. River, massive engagement here for the Wukong. During the dragon fight, getting into the back line. Perfect jungler support score too, by the way, 0-0-12 for River. 100% kill participation for the jungler, giving all of the kills over to all the carries on his team as well. Honestly, really big team play here for the Golden Guardians. Despite the early gold lead from Evil Geniuses, that big team fight at the Dragon, continuing their stacking, getting so much gold back in their favor. They never gave it back over to EG.
They knew what conditions were working in their favor, and they very much stuck to the game plan, which I feel like is one of the things that is so clear with teams that can't achieve that. They get a little rattle-headed if they fall behind. But Golden Guardians, they knew what they were doing. They were able to close out here in game number 1. But remember, everyone, spring final